Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar hosted by Olapic. We're excited to share with you a discussion on delivering visual authenticity across all consumer touchpoints with our special guest from NYX Professional Makeup. My name is Rachel Brown. I'm the Content Marketing Associate here at Olapic, and I'll be moderating this webinar. We have two awesome speakers for you today, Bernice Merlini and Justin Picciano. Bernice is the Director of E-commerce and Digital Marketing at NYX Professional Makeup, and Justin Picciano is the SVP of Customer Success at Olapic. He has over 20 years of experience starting his career leading large client engagements at Accenture and going on to transform support organizations in-house, most recently at Avaya and AppNexus. In the next 30 minutes, our guests will discuss the importance of visual authenticity in marketing and how brands can deliver meaningful consumer experiences with the right mix of content formats across all touchpoints. Before we get started, though, I'd like to review a few housekeeping items on how best to participate in today's session. First, during the webinar, the audience will be in listen-only mode. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A feature at the top of your screen. Lastly, feel free to tweet at us or quote anything from this webinar using @Olapic or any of the hashtags that you see on the slides. And please follow us on our social media channels as well. If you'd like to revisit this discussion or share it with a colleague, don't worry, a recording will be sent to you after the webinar via email. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Justin to get started.
Rachel, thank you very much. So today we're going to talk about NYX Professional Makeup, which is one of the fastest growing makeup artistry brands in the United States. And it also is one of Olapic's earliest and most innovative customers. Their tremendous growth has been primarily driven through a social media and grassroots marketing strategy, inspiring a large and socially savvy community. In fact, NYX currently boasts more than 11 million followers on Instagram. Today, we're going to talk about how NYX has evolved their visual marketing strategy and provide some key best practices so that you can apply that into your own strategy. So, Bernice, welcome. How are you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Great. We're really excited to have you with us today. And I mentioned NYX's community, so let's start with that. This group is a really heavily engaged one and has been sharing rich content, which you and your team have successfully incorporated into all facets of your marketing strategy. At a high level, can you share some of the foundational elements of the strategy and how specifically user-generated content fits in?
Sure. So at the very core of it, I think what NYX prizes above all else is a really authentic connection to its consumers. And that translates across all of our marketing campaigns. And so what we really want to highlight with our campaigns and with our strategy and with the content that we showcase is that authentic relationship and really authentic content. So we're lucky in that we get a lot of rich imagery from our consumers that is really shareable and we know is really engaging. And so we wanted to really find ways to highlight that across all different platforms. This is really beautiful content. Frankly, it's a lot of times even better than what we can shoot in-house, and it's done at home with real life NYX consumers. And so we want to be able to really feature that and highlight that because we feel like it's the most transparent and authentic way to connect with our consumer. We feel like consumers, it really resonates with them because it's customers and men and women that look just like them. And so that's definitely a big part of the very core of our content strategy is how do we really highlight that content that we feel like is most relevant to our consumer.
The terms transparency and authenticity really jump out in your comments there and seem to be two key themes across every way you've interacted with your consumers. Let's first take a look at a few of the primary channels through which you've showcased user-generated content. The first part of the journey was a relaunch of your e-commerce website. Talk a little bit about the thought process and approach to how you focused on UGC there and made it a key part of the buying experience.
Right. So we launched our we did a relaunch of our website and a complete redesign in October 2015. And so a big part of that strategy, when we're talking about design and talking about where we wanted the site to go, UGC was a big part of that conversation. And we knew we wanted to be front and center of the overall design strategy and the overall content strategy for the site. We recognize that we're a mass market brand, and so the approach to buying makeup is going to be a little bit different than, say, a prestige brand. It's going to be very much a self-service approach, and we wanted to be able to really encourage that exploration, that somebody is able to walk into a store, say, and swatch a lipstick. How do we really translate that experience online? NYX is a really digital-focused brand. Our consumers are young, they're really digitally savvy. For the most part, consumer content or emails, browse the site on mobile devices. So how do we really optimize our site and our content, knowing all of that? And so we felt like the most organic way to do that was to highlight all of the UGC that we're getting. So it's highlighted really prominently across the site. It's center. On our homepage, it's featured on their PDP because we know it's an important part and aspect of kind of the consideration process. We know that for a consumer, if she's considering a lip color, she wants to know, is this going to look right on me? A way to be able to do that in stores, to be able to try it on. So how do we kind of translate that experience to a customer at home, whether she's on her phone or she's on her computer? And we felt like because we have all this content, that's really relevant to kind of that experience, to really highlight that. And so we have a whole kind of UGC focused section of our PDPs that highlights user reviews and user images. It's on our CLP. So if you're on a lips category page, for example, you see UGC images tagged with lips products. And so, we felt like it was a really important part of our strategy overall to really highlight all of these beautiful images, and they're so extremely colorful, and they grab the user's attention. We know that our users engage with it. We can see on the Olaplex platform what converts and what doesn't, and so those get kind of bumped up to the front as well. And for completely selfish reasons, it's a way for us to keep the site looking really fresh without us having to go and create content and upload it manually all the time. I mean, it's a feed that lives and breathes, and so it's a way to kind of keep our content and our sites looking really fresh.
You've been able to leverage that beautiful and colorful imagery in your email marketing campaigns as well, right?
Right. So, like I said, we're lucky in that we get a ton of content, but we certainly don't want to cycle through them too quickly. So I believe really strongly in making sure that we're extending kind of that shelf life. And so images that we're getting, that we're seeing being featured on the site, we want to be able to feature on other platforms as well. And so email is a really great place to do that. We have a really strong database, a really engaging database. And so how do we really kind of highlight that? Another thing to really call out too is that we see a lot of trends come through on our social channels, and it's kind of really the first place that we look. NYX is a really young brand, really color focused. It's also a really trendy brand, in that we want to be first to market with a beauty trend that you see. And so a lot of times is that we look to our social channels for inspiration, and a great place to do that is to look at how are consumers using our product. What's the feedback on the product? What are they excited about? I think it's a really great place to do kind of temperature checks for that. And so we felt like all this really great feedback that we're getting, on creative ways to use this eyeliner, different ways to layer this lip product. How do we really extend that knowledge? And we felt like kind of pulling that information and featuring it on an email was a really great place to share that. And it also kind of gives our community another sense of kind of being mini influencers and mini celebrities in their own right. We feel really strongly about building this really engaging and really supportive NYX community, and we just want to be able to highlight that in as many places as possible.
That's great. So looking at trends and looking for inspiration has been a great way to drive digital exploration on the online shopping journey and form that sense of community. But creating that same experience is very different in the store itself. I think you launched your first store on the same day as the site relaunch, if I'm not mistaken. How did you go about achieving that same objective while knowing that the physical experience in the store is very different than the online experience?
Right. So we did open our first U.S. store at the same time as that we launched our site redesign in October 2015. So like you mentioned, it is a different experience, and we're definitely really conscious of that. You know, a retail store is able to offer certain experiences that a digital experience can't, and vice versa. So how do we really start to bridge the gap and to make it a really cohesive brand experience, but also to keep the stores really unique and really digitally focused? Because like I said, NYX is a young brand, it's a really digitally focused brand, and we wanted to really keep that in mind when we were building out our stores. And so there's a lot of digital elements in our freestanding stores that we're super proud of. Part of that really ties into what you see on our .com site is if you're on a product page for one of our products, say the Soft Fat Lip Cream, the UGC images that you see tagged to that product, you can see those same images in store in a similar experience. There's scanners located throughout the store and displays, and you can take a product, scan the barcode, and the images that are tagged to that specific SKU show up. And so it's a really similar experience as going online and browsing that specific red lipstick and seeing all the images that are tagged. We wanted to be able to bring that experience in store as well. We encourage exploration, not just online, but in the stores as well. I think the store space is definitely built for a customer to go around, explore what, really resonates to that customer, and to be able to play with the products too. We want it to be a real playground for them. And so I think that kind of experience and digital integration was one that we felt really strongly about. For some stores that have a little bigger square footage, that gives us a little bit more room to play, like our store in Union Square in New York. It's a really cool feature. It's kind of an Instagram sculpture, so it's the video that you're seeing, and that's more of a kind of brand story and color exploration. So we've talked a lot about NYX being really a colorful brand, and it's really color focused and trend focused. And so how do we really kind of bring that brand story to life in a store? And so if you stand in front of this Instagram sculpture and you're wearing a red shirt, it's going to pick up kind of the red hues in your shirt and show you all the images that are tagged with that red, from consumers that might have red hair to wearing red lipstick. It's a really beautiful experience, and definitely more kind of a branded experience versus the more kind of tactical experience of scanning the product and seeing all the images tagged to it. So we wanted to be able to offer kind of a spectrum of these digital experiences for our consumers.
So the roadmap started out with the site relaunch, extended out into the store, and in 2017, it hasn't been any exception to the innovation that you guys have continued to do, this time with the mobile app. The mobile app is a whole new platform which requires content, but at the same time continue to form that same experience of authenticity and transparency. Talk a little bit about the process and waiting until after the site relaunch and the store launches, and what's made the mobile app unique in delivering that experience.
Right. So we've always known that having a native mobile app makes sense in our kind of long-term digital roadmap. We know that our consumers are really active on their mobile devices, and they're really digitally savvy. And so how do we really highlight that, target that, and really build on that? And so it's always been on our roadmap. Like you said, we've definitely been busy the last couple of years. And so 2017 was definitely the time to focus on it, now that we got these other kind of big projects out of the way. And so it's been the year of focusing on the app and loyalty as well, which we'll talk a little bit about. But for the app, we really wanted to highlight what was sticky and addictive about other social apps out there that our consumers really loved. So, looking at Instagram, looking at Facebook, how is it that users are interacting with it, and what of kind of those platforms, what elements make sense to kind of draw into the app is really what we focused on. So the first thing that you see when you open our app is a feed, and that feed features UGC. So it's UGC that's tagged to our hashtag, but it's also curated stories. So we have certain kind of slideshows that are curated stories. It goes back to that conversation that we were having about NYX being a real trendsetter, but also wanting to really highlight the trends that we were seeing within our own community and really kind of cementing our role within the industry as an educational brand, a professional makeup brand. It's very much a part of our heritage, and so we wanted to be able to highlight that. You know, there's beauty hacks that you can see on the feed. We wanted to give consumers a really organic way to engage with the brand, engage with our product, engage with our content without it feeling too much of in your face. You know, you have to buy this product. It's definitely more about, this is what the community really loves right now. These are the trends that we're seeing. This is what we feel like is relevant for you. So we wanted to build something that was very much for our NYX community.
It's amazing how you've brought all of that into one mobile experience. It's just really awesome. And for those who have not downloaded the app, please do. It's really cool and a great experience to check out. You mentioned loyalty, so it seems as though you've also included loyalty in this as well to continue that stickiness factor with your community and to keep them engaged.
Right. So we knew that we wanted to launch a loyalty program to really reward our consumers, not just with purchasing, but really engaging with the brand across different channels, regardless of where it is that they purchased from. And we felt like it made sense to really have some unique loyalty experiences in the app, because we know that these are going to be our most engaged users, and they're going to be our most excited users, and they're going to be the early adopters of kind of the NYX community. And so how do we really reward that, highlight that, really target that? And so, you know, there are specific elements that are exclusive to the app. So we have stickers that reward our consumers for various behaviors, purchase behaviors, but also, you know, posting reviews, posting UGC, filling out their beauty profile. And that's exclusive to the app. And it goes back to kind of the surprise and delight for our consumers. And, you know, really understanding that our consumer base really likes a kind of collectible kind of feel to what it is that they're using. And so, you know, there's a ton of stickers for them to collect. There's the idea of kind of building upon progress. And so we wanted to be able to really highlight that. And the beauty profile experience, for us, you know, there's ways to do it that feels kind of like taking a test, and we wanted to really stay away from that and make it really imagery focused. And we felt like the app was a really great place to be able to highlight that. So for example, when you're answering questions like, you know, what is your makeup style, what beauty trends really resonate with you, we use UGC for that. And, you know, we wanted to highlight on another popular app out there, you know, that kind of Tinder style app that, you know, swipe left and swipe right. And so, you know, we wanted to bring in really fun elements that we were seeing people using already on other apps and that feel really familiar to the consumer, and to bring it into our app and make it really unique to NYX and feel really NYX.
So the website, email marketing, incorporating UGC, you've got the in-store experience, the mobile app with a loyalty program built in. You would think NYX was done, right? But the innovation continues with the blog, the NYX blog, coming in 2018. Bernice, you would think that you would have launched the blog as a way to promote the site relaunch. What was the thought process in the timing and sequencing of incorporating the blog now into this experience next year?
Sure. So like you kind of touched on, we definitely don't stay bored at NYX. So it's kind of this really huge content hub is our next big target in terms of site optimizations. And so for me, it did make sense to launch it at the same time that we're launching the site. I think they were, number one, bigger things to focus on. We had a really, really tight timeline with getting the site up and running. And number two was making sure that it was the right decision for us. And so it would have been really easy to throw something up and, you know, just to have a blog up for the sake of having a blog. But we've always wanted to launch kind of our digital programs really thoughtfully. And so for us, it was about, did it make sense? Do we even have the content to be able to support something like this? Do we have the workflows to be able to support something like this and to be able to refresh that content so that it really was a meaningful place for our consumers to come and visit? And it didn't make sense, you know, 2 years ago, and it certainly makes sense now. And so it's something that we're working towards. It's for us, we envision it as something much larger than just kind of a traditional blog. It's going to be a whole content destination. We create a lot of videos in-house. We get a ton of content that comes from consumers. We have content teams at NYX that, create a lot of great kind of educational tips and tutorials that we want to be able to share to our consumers, and to be able to really highlight. And once again, it goes back to kind of that professional makeup heritage. And so how do we really build on that and be able to share that knowledge with our consumer base? And so we felt like kind of a really 360 content destination made the most sense for us, versus just kind of throwing a blog up 2 years ago when it didn't quite, when we didn't quite have kind of the team to really support that.
Yeah, and you've done that really well without getting too far in front of yourselves, and really, really being thoughtful into how you map that out. Now that we've talked about the roadmap and the timing and launching in various channels, bring it all together and talk a little bit about how you map the right set of content to the various points in the consumer shopping journey.
Sure. So for us, we're really thoughtful about what it is that our consumers are saying. Our consumers are really vocal. They have a lot to say. And so we try to take that feedback really seriously and to take that back in-house and to really think about, how do we continue to optimize all of our content and all of our strategies and all of our messaging to what it is that's really resonating with our consumers. We certainly don't make assumptions. And so, it's a really quick changing landscape. I think digital as a whole, retail as a whole, there's a lot that's changing right now. And what probably worked 6 months ago, 3 months ago might not work today. And so we're constantly evolving based on what's working and what's not. And how it is that we consider what's working is we are really metrics focused. And so, we have a team that's really supportive of looking at data and constantly trying to learn from that data, what emails are performing really well, what, pieces of content based on the data we have on the Olympic platform are converting really well, and how do we kind of, highlight that success and bring it across the different platforms and translate that into an email or translate that into something on the app or even a promotion. So we're really thoughtful about kind of looking at all of that information holistically. And like you said, we've talked a lot about a lot of different channels, and we have a lot to juggle right now. So, we have the site, we have email, we have the app, and those are all very specific consumers, and what works in one channel doesn't necessarily work in another. So I think when we were first thinking about the app, for example, we thought that there would be a lot of similarities in the content that was going to be shared across kind of the site and the app, and it was going to be pretty simple, but it's pretty different, what works on that screen and in the feed, and with how quickly users go through the feed and interact with our content is different than on the site, which is a lot more transactional. And so we've had to really look at each channel as its kind of own beast and be really thoughtful about what it is that we're showcasing on each. And like I said, we're constantly learning, and so we're constantly testing. So there's not an element that we'll introduce without testing it first. It goes back to us being really data driven. We love to look at the metrics, and so we have a really great testing partner that we work really closely with to make sure that kind of everything it is that we're interested in implementing really makes sense on those platforms.
Many different channels that you mentioned typically means many different organizational touch points, and many brands that we work with have several stakeholders just within the marketing organization. Not only is there opportunity to share the same content across the entire org, but more importantly, get those stakeholders aligned on the approach. Seeing that NYX has brought UGC across all of those different channels and all those different touch points, talk a little bit about sort of the challenges and the opportunities that you've seen in bringing all those folks together and breaking down those silos.
Sure. So I think it's something that we've definitely focused on, like you said, because we're working across a lot of different channels, and you know, we work really closely with the social teams. And not to say that NYX has a perfect formula for this, but I think for us, what really important and what it is that we really focus on is the consumer at the end of the day. So we want to make sure that the experience for our consumers is a really great one. It's really strong, and that it's always sending a really strong brand message. And that's the number one thing that we focus on. And I think it's that, keeping that theme in mind, is what's able to kind of give us marching orders that are consistent across the different teams and across the different departments. I think for us, we're lucky as well, and you know, I think it's unique to us, and it's something that we probably take for granted, is that we have within digital a specific headcount that's focused on just content. And so this role ideally is focused on looking at what works in terms of content on Instagram, what works in an email, what's working on the site, and how to really bridge the gap between all of it so that the brand messaging is always super consistent. Looking at, you know, what's really working in the marketplace, what's trending right now, what are consumers saying, what are consumers sharing. And so I think this kind of a role for a brand like us that's really content focused is super important. You know, and at the end of the day, we have really small and lean teams, and I think that kind of gives us the flexibility to be able to work really closely with each other, and to really kind of centralize that overall digital strategy across departments.
So the last thing, Bernice, is making sure that this strategy just hangs together from an ecosystem perspective. One of the things that we do well at Olympic is partner with a number of different vendors to help create out-of-the-box integrations to seamlessly make that ecosystem hang. And in fact, one would argue that there is not really one true MarTech vendor out there that can provide all of the solutions that you talked about under one roof. So you've obviously partnered with us, but you've got Salesforce as well, Facebook, OvenBits, Qubit, many different partners that have been really key in making this strategy all come together. Talk a little bit about how you've gone about selecting a partner and making sure that when you look at this ecosystem, you can look at it through one lens as opposed to many different separate lenses.
Sure. So one of the things that we really keep in mind when choosing a partner, and really in deciding whether a partner is kind of the right fit for the long term too, is I'm all about kind of these long-term relationships. And when we bring a partner on, we want to make sure that it's something that's going to work not just for the next year, but for the next 3 to 5 years, and it's going to be able to really grow with us. What we really look at is if they're really going to be able to understand what our priorities are and to really truly understand what the brand stands for. So I'm a big believer that kind of, you know, voice and style of the brand can be coached, but really having a partner aligned with what it is that's important to us, what it is that our overall goals are, super important. And as you can see from the things it is that we've done the last couple of years, we're a brand that really loves to innovate. We love to be first to market with the technology. We love to try new things. And there's some partners that are really great ones to do that with, that are eager to kind of push the boundaries and want to do it with us. And there are ones that really shy away from that. So we definitely go with the ones that are wanting to be real kind of innovators in the space with us, that is willing to try new things, willing to take risks, and willing to really push. I mean, with every launch it is that we've done, there's always been something new that we've introduced to a platform that it kind of wasn't necessarily built for, had never been done before. And so, you know, we want to pick partners that are able to give us that flexibility to really grow with us in the long term.
That's great, Bernice. So first off, thank you for all of the insight you provided here. This is just incredible to both hear you talk as well as see the results and see the outcome of that roadmap and that journey that NYX has been on. It's really cool to see, and excited for even more to come as you continue to build on that innovation within the brand. So congratulations to you there as well. So there are a couple of key takeaways here, I think, based on a number of the things that Bernice has mentioned. The first is to keep a pulse on your audience Talked a lot about how NYX looks for trends and looks to find inspiration and then promotes that inspiration back out into the community. To centralize your content strategy, but at the same time, don't bite off more than you can chew. Be thoughtful about that roadmap and that journey and phase it in a way that's thoughtful and will help to continue to expand the innovation as well as learn as you go as well. Choose the best partner for your brands, not one size fits all. In the case of NYX, the ability to kind of be innovative and sort of push the boundaries of what makes sense and to really test that with the brand was key for NYX. But for other brands out there, you've got to think about what makes the most sense for you. Test, learn, fail, test again, learn more, keep going, be agile. Something really important to continue to both stay innovative as well as listen to what your consumers are telling you, and then pivot based on that. And then finally, which I think is the most important thing, and with NYX in particular, is to stay true to the brand. You guys have really thought through how to create authenticity and transparency, but not lose what NYX is all about at the end of the day. So really cool to see.
Awesome. So thanks, Bernice and Justin, for the great discussion and the information that you shared. We're going to open up the webinar for questions now. We don't have a time for a lot, but we'll be sure that if you asked a question, we'll follow up with you individually. One of the first ones that came through looks like it's for you, Bernice. What brands do you really think get the beauty industry or inspire you as a marketer, and why?
So I think a brand that everybody's talking about right now, not just within the beauty industry, is Glossier. I'm fascinated by them. I think it's a great brand, not just from kind of a branding perspective, but also from a digital perspective. If you look at how it is that they release products, kind of this one story at a time, it's really thoughtful, and it's super engaging. I mean, I think we really pride ourselves with having a really direct line to our consumer, and to be really mindful about what it is that they're saying. I think they do a really terrific job of that as well, in making their customer feel like they're very much a part of the product development process, a part of the launch process, and they do a great job of that. Their site's great. They're really mobile first and really digitally focused, and that's something that we're keeping an eye on, and it certainly inspires me. I think that you can't be in the beauty space without looking at what the kind of Kardashians and the Jenners are doing. I think the frenzy around it has been really fascinating to watch, and it's going to be really interesting to see kind of where these brands go in the next year, or even 2 years, and to see how is it that consumers start to really grow with the brand. I mean, I think the growth has been explosive, and it's just been really interesting to watch as somebody that works in the beauty industry.
Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, we have so many awesome questions, but we only have time for one more. And I think this next one is also for you, Bernice. So what are some new technology trends that you have your eye on maybe now and into the future?
Sure. So I think, one of the big conversations around digital and around tech right now is around AR, VR. And so that's something we have our eye on as well. We've talked a lot about how do we translate an in-store really tactile experience to kind of the digital experience. And we feel like kind of the next frontier is how do we really bring that really kind of in-store, wanting to swatch, wanting to play with the product shopping experience, how do we really translate that for the consumer at home? And so we feel like having consumers being able to try on makeup at home, be able to experience the NYX store at home is really kind of the next place that we would really love to take the brand.
Definitely. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of our webinar, but we'll be sure to answer all the questions that were submitted, and definitely make sure that our audience looks out for a follow-up email from us soon with a webinar replay. On behalf of Olaplex and NYX Professional Makeup, I'd like to thank you for joining us, and we hope you guys have a great day.